Representative Mike McLean.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to declare a conflict of interest.
State your conflict.
Despite what you just heard by Representative Fagan, I have before me a legal opinion by the Deputy Legislative Counsel, Gail Stevens, to Representative Davis. Now, both Representative Davis and I are also lawyers. So is Gail Stevens, and according to this opinion, dated February 17, 2016, voting for Senate Bill 1532, in other words, our debate here, would raise legislative salaries. So I am a legislator. We are debating a vote to raise our salaries today, and I want to declare a conflict of interest that I have a financial interest, as do every one of you, in the outcome of this bill.
Certainly, Representative, it is within your right to declare a potential conflict of interest. I think there have been differing opinions on the floor. I have not seen the opinion that you are looking at. I have seen other opinions, and I think it is not that clear. But if you would like to, you have declared your potential conflict, submit it to the clerk for writing, and further discussion on the bill?
Yeah,
Representative Wilson?
Madam Speaker, I'm simply rising to declare a potential conflict of interest because of the aforementioned.
I think we're all allowed to declare a potential conflict of interest, but I have to tell you, you have differing legal opinions on this. It would be the ruling of this chair that that's not required. Excuse me, let me finish. This bill doesn't say anything about legislators. We have differing legal opinions. I can't stop any of you from declaring a conflict of interest, potential conflict of interest. You need to submit them to the clerk in writing. I think you should also, for those of you who don't want to do that, I think you should share with me all your legal opinions. I don't believe any of us have to do that. But I can't stop you. So you've declared your potential conflict of interest. Representative Wilson has. Representative Widener, for what purpose are you in the queue?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I, too, would like to declare a potential conflict of interest, and I will submit it in writing as well.
Go right ahead. Further discussion? Representative Davis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Because of the Legislative Council opinion that I have received, I would like to declare a potential conflict of interest in voting on this bill because it may result in an increase in legislative salaries, which I receive. Thank you. I will submit that potential conflict in writing.
And Representative Davis, would you also say that it may result in a decrease as well?
Madam Speaker, I'm speaking about the opinion that I received. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative Springer? Representative McLean, excuse me, I have a lot of people in the queue. Representative McLean, for what purpose are you in the privilege queue?
Madam Speaker, I'm in the privilege queue to ask a point of order with regards to your ruling.
Okay.
Are you ruling, Madam Speaker, that there is no pay increase, or are you ruling that we're such a large class that we don't need to declare a conflict of interest?
I have not seen your legal opinion, and there are other legal opinions, and so I don't know. But you may declare a potential conflict of interest based on what you believe to be the case. I'm just saying legislators are not mentioned in the bill. We are raising salaries for all workers. We happen to be workers. So I don't know what to tell you. I'm not an attorney.
Thank you.
Representative Hack?
I, too, would like to declare a conflict of interest given the information that we've received from
Please state your conflict,
Council.
potential conflict.
Pay increase for legislators, and I'll submit that in writing. Thank you.
Please be sure to submit it in writing. Representative Whitsitt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also would like to declare a potential conflict of interest for a pay increase based on the aforementioned legal opinion that Representative Davis brought to us today. To every member It was sent to every member of this body. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Please submit your potential conflict in writing into the record. Representative Benz.
Madam Speaker, I rise to declare a potential conflict of interest.
Please declare your potential conflict.
Madam Speaker, as a lawyer having practiced 38 years, I recognize just how confused the law sometimes can be, and one should always err on the side of caution. I think there may be a conflict, judging from what we've heard various lawyers talk about. There may not be a conflict. I really don't know, but the abundance of caution demands that I declare the possibility of a conflict of interest.
Thank you, Representative. Please submit that in writing. Representative Buckley, for what purpose are you in the privilege view?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Point of order, please.
Please state your question.
I'm wondering, and maybe there could be some clarification if someone has read a different opinion than I have, but the opinions seem to indicate that there could possibly, potentially, be an increase in legislative pay at some point in the future if this bill comes forth. It's my understanding, Madam Speaker, and I could be corrected if I'm wrong, that re-election to the Oregon House of Representatives is not guaranteed to any member of this House, and that every member of the House must run for re-election every 2 years. Given that every member of this House must run for re-election every 2 years, I don't know what the conflict of interest is for a legislator making this vote now on something that may or may not happen in the future. So I bring that up as a point of order for using the floor time for a point of a potential conflict of interest, which actually does not exist. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you for your patience. So we've had a moment to consult with Legislative Counsel. So under advice of Legislative Counsel, there are multiple opinions, obviously, on what the impact could be. But Legislative Counsel advises me that all members are part of a larger class and therefore not required to declare a potential conflict of interest. And that will be the ruling of the chair. However, I cannot restrain any of you from getting up to state a potential conflict of interest, although I would ask in the interest of time that you not do that, but I cannot restrain you. Representative Neerman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I appreciate your indulgence. I'd like to also declare a conflict of interest.
A potential conflict of interest. Please state your potential conflict of interest.
So myself as a legislator for a potential increase in pay, and also for my wife who's a state employee who makes more than the proposed minimum wage but might get an increase in wages due to pay compression.
I would say that your wife is also part of a larger class that would not need to be declaring a conflict of interest, but please note your potential conflict of interest for you and your family into the record.
Thank you.
Representative Stark.
Yes, Madam Speaker, understanding your ruling, I too want to, out of an abundance of caution, declare a potential conflict of interest.
Please state your potential conflict of interest.
Well, based off of the training that we went through, our ethics training mandatory recently, we sat here as they talked about any potential gain or loss. If it affects us, we out of an abundance of caution should issue this. And based off of the LC opinions that we have heard from multiple people, I'm concerned that this could affect us in either of those directions, and therefore, as a legislator and part of that body and part of that class, I would like to declare that potential conflict of interest.
Thank you. Please submit your potential conflict of interest for the record. And colleagues, I will remind you again, precedent on this floor has been on the advice of Legislative Counsel. When that advice is that we are part of a larger class, conflicts of interest are not necessary to be stated on the floor. We are being advised by Legislative Counsel that we are part of a larger class and a conflict statement is not necessary. Representative Parrish.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to state a potential conflict of interest.
Please state your potential conflict.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, while I appreciate that our Legislative Counsel has given you that advice, I would argue that we're not part of a larger class. We're 90 of us who can vote ourselves a pay raise, where the rest of the workers in Oregon cannot.
Representative, what is your potential conflict?
My conflict of interest that I'd like to state is I do have concerns about this bill, as it could increase our pay, and that's not what I came to the legislature to do. The last piece of this, Madam, if you I heard the speech.
Representative, I've already ruled what I've gotten the advice of Legislative Counsel. You've stated your potential conflict. Please submit it into the record for writing. Representative Mike McLean. Again, another potential conflict?
To the bill.
Is there anyone else who wants to do the potential conflict thing? Let's get them all out of the way. I don't have all day. Representative Wisnet.
Madam Chair, I'd like to declare a potential conflict of interest.
Please just declare your potential conflict.
I'm not sure I trust any of the attorneys, so I'd like to declare a potential conflict of interest that I may benefit from a pay raise if this bill passes. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. Please submit your potential conflict. Let us not impugn lawyers on the floor, please. We have too many of you. Any other potential conflicts? Representative Smith, in the abundance of caution.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, I'm a member of a single liability company that does economic development in Eastern Oregon.
Thank you, Representative. I appreciate that. Further conflicts? Anybody else? Can we go back to the discussion, please?